Hello, and welcome back to Project Rejectus. Today, we will be going over the vast islands of Glacially, and how animals will evolve in these extremely isolated environments, starting with the Acudin. As these predators spread, some adapted to living by the hunting fish. The Acari acted similar to a seagull on Earth. They traveled the seas looking for their prey. Being able to travel vast distances, they could now reach multiple islands, with many settling there due to the lack of competition. An example of this is seen on the islands on Retram formed by volcanic activity. These small islands provided a safe area with no predators, while once just barren rock fruits of the Fruberus were able to colonize these islands with rafting events that allowed many of them to reach these islands. From there, they evolved their own special species known as the Rejectus. They evolved to make their fruits as plentiful as possible, with the fruits becoming blue to be seen even easier. The Acari soon noticed this. With these islands presenting a peaceful paradise, many settled on these islands, losing their ability to fly. Their descendants, the Fugucus, lived peaceful lives on these islands, grazing on the grass and fruit available. They soon diversified, with no other animals being on the island. Some took to the trees, becoming known as the Osnes. They used their 3 mouths to swing and climb across the trees, accessing higher fruits. They used what remained of their air sacs to inflate their sides for mating rituals, even developing a slight green color to help out. Some of their descendants took it even further, with their mouths becoming stronger. As they traveled back to the ground, they could become much bigger. Their descendants, the Orker, used their stronger mouths to support themselves, making them kinda of like legs, letting them become much bigger and faster. They improved their mating displays, with the green becoming more visible. They only stopped walking on their mouths on rare occasions, such as mating or getting knocked over. But these weren't the only animals to live on Retram. Another descendant of the Acari used the safe haven of these islands to give their young a safe place to grow before flying back to the mainland. With all these resources and little competition, created a true giant known as the Rexlum. Spending their adolescence on peaceful islands, they could freely eat fruit until they grew big enough to fly to the mainland, where they became giant predators. While females had a light gray coloring, males were known to have bright colors on their head to attract mates, with them varying in separate species. Our next island is the Virus Archipelago, formed after pieces of land separated from the mainland. These islands has one specific species. The Plusta, now left in this peaceful environment, quickly adapted to every available niche, such as becoming megafauna. The Crusta had an extremely unique way of reaching higher plants by extending their front 2 limbs. They could elevate themselves up easily with their back leg, and tail became extremely reduced. They grew a harder shell on their long legs to protect themselves from predators. Other descendants of the Plusta adapted to the trees known as the Parstavum's. Feathers gained colors very similar to the trees around them, with even their shells resembling their yellow fruits. They gained 2 fingers to help climb up trees, with longer mouths to reach faraway fruit. Their feathers also helped them to jump from tree to tree, letting them glide around as more herbivores appeared. Soon plants start becoming scarce due to the lack of predators. Soon a descendant of the Parstavum took the niche as plants weren't enough to survive anymore. The Rexnium grew bigger, gaining 2 large teeth on their mouths. They acted as the apex predators, usually hiding in trees to ambush their prey. They completely lost their shells. They no longer served a purpose for them. Another descendant of the Parstavum, known as the Cugo, went farther into their gliding to escape predators, and with the lack of flying animals on their islands, they could freely evolve flight, using their feathers to better reach food and escape predators. Their feathers became bigger on their arms to help them fly. With all these new animals, the Fruberus that came with them had to adapt as well. Their descendants, the Boris, has developed more leaves and fruit to maximize the amount of sunlight they get, and get even bigger chances of at least one of their offspring surviving, giving the animals of the Virus Islands plenty of food to eat. Going to our third island, as land from Sepses and Crescentia drifted from their continents, they eventually crashed into each other, introducing the animals from both continents for the first time. Small animals such as the Malium were the main animals to inhabit these islands, with no big predators. These animals could evolve uncontested, creating their descendants. The Lorum could perfect their color-changing abilities, giving them perfect camouflage. They became bipedal, to give them a much larger field of vision. Along with speed, they grew one claw on each limb to help grapple onto their prey. The Prinibus was another animal that became isolated on these islands. With the rise of the Lorum, they were forced to quickly adapt to these new predators. Their descendants, the Maglu, did this by becoming giant grazers with a deep blue color. To act as a warning, they were very aggressive, with their antlers becoming even bigger to ward them off. A fully grown Maglu had no predators if they made it that far. The Anura came along, with the Malium being isolated in a new environment with almost no megafauna allowed them to grow to truly massive sizes. Their descendants, the Sterex, could reach truly towering heights, specializing for plants no other herbivore could reach, with their skinny legs helping to keep their main body out of reach from predators. The Testporus came along with the Prinibus. With the megafaunal niches taken, they went a different route. As predators started rising, their descendants, the Sisymodes, had grown long tails and lost their shells for one reason: speed. This animal had dedicated everything to speed to survive, becoming the fastest land animal. Only the most camouflaged animal could catch one. With these animals' lives were also extremely fast, as they acted like rabbits. The Acari settled on these islands, taking a truly unique niche, since predators and herbivores were mostly taken. Their descendants, the Verlu, had changed their former wings into flippers, but these animals did not eat fish, as they changed their teeth into bristle-like structures, letting them filter feed on small organisms. But this wasn't the only use, as these teeth could also go through mud and dirt, allowing them to eat mud for nutrients. They had an uncontested food source that let them live peaceful lives on land and in the water. We are now onto our second to last island before this journey is over. Formed by volcanic activity, Sorumtera is a unique set of islands that is almost entirely inhabited by only Verima. With some of the fruits that drifted to these islands came small Verima, who had hitched a ride on top of them, were allowed to freely conquer these islands. An example of these descendants is the Mulni. These small animals had grown out their spines extremely long, with their body covered in them. They constantly lost and regrew these spines daily, leaving most predators covered in them. They had orange bodies and white tips on their spines to act as warnings to predators. Another descendant of the Verima followed a similar path. Ostro had become bigger and bulkier in this new environment, with stripes on their back, not for camouflage, but as a warning, since when a predator gets too close, they break parts of their ribs, shooting out of their bodies to protect themselves, deterring most predators. Once they are safe, they quickly retract their ribs, as they quickly heal for the next encounter. While these defenses deter most predators, it won't work on the Famus. With much thicker skin and jaws, they can take the damage these spines give. Along with their fur has become multiple colors to resemble their prey, letting them get closer than most could before quickly biting onto their prey. While very different, all these animals share one common predator. Descended from the Funum, the Hopapod became flightless, moving around by instead hopping around on their flattened tail in a similar motion to kangaroos. These hobbit-sized creatures use their three trunks to suck up small-bodied critters from the dense foliage of the islands, with no predators around to stop them. The Fruberous that came along with these animals took advantage of this paradise, soon becoming very wide and giant. The Trugia made these islands extremely dense in foliage, making it hard to traverse for larger creatures, but was just perfect for the small animals underneath them. As fun as this has been, we are now on the final island, which means this journey is soon ending. On the island of Tertus was created as pieces of land from Glanum and Crescentia crashed into each other, introducing these very two different animals together. While the bigger animals, such as the Dueris, couldn't adapt to the cold, the smaller animals did. With megafauna absent from the island, the Glimmens were the animals to step up to the niche. Their descendants, the Lamimus, became much bigger, turning the skin on their sides into large bony plates for protection. Their tusks also increased to defend themselves. As predators arose, they rushed blood to these plates to act as a quick warning to stay away. With most big predators absent from the islands, the Habtrum was left to freely evolve uncontested from other predators. Their descendants, the Deritus, became quadrupedal, letting their front limbs rise to help grab prey. These blind predators hunted purely with smell, using their leopard pattern to help hide them. These fast predators could easily catch their prey. While most of the animals from Crescentia died due to the much colder climate, the Verima were able to adapt, now being in direct competition with their distant cousins. Their descendants took on new niches, such as the alder spent their days hiding in the show, waiting to ambush whatever came near them, using the back of their tails to quickly help submerge themselves under the snow. Another descendant of the Verima, the Aramis, became very aggressive, developing bright colors. As a warning, they usually built complex burrows with their mouths to hide from predators, and raised their young with their quills being their only other defense. These islands have a truly unique opportunity, as smaller species of Aprices could use them to escape predators. A group soon adapted fully into land, only going to the water to lay their eggs. The Rejectus ventured onto land while their former filter feeding made it hard to eat meat or plants, so these creatures instead ate the snow around them for nutrients, similar to the Verlu from earlier. Due to their ancestry, these animals travels in small groups, showing the first case of sociality on land. That is all for today's episode. Thank you for watching to the end. I will see you all next time when we finally discuss the return to water and what exactly has happened to the oceans since then.